Hello and welcome. This is Just Nigeria. Coming up, 2022 Outlook. We'll look at how Nigeria's economy may fare in the new year. Plus, eating right. Medical experts warn against eating rotten tomatoes. And from slum to fame, 19-year-old bus conductor becomes chess champion in Lagos. Also,
hi, my name is Mitun Dada. Check me out.
The civil engineer turned lifestyle expert leading the campaign to eat right. Welcome to Just Nigeria from the BBC and Channels Television. And of course, on the program, we look at the stories making the rounds online. I am Wale Fakile. Let's begin with our top story. Now, every new year, many Nigerians set out new plans to accomplish personal, professional, and corporate projects. But these plans might amount to nothing if the economy isn't favorable. In our first story, Just Nigeria's Aneta Felix speaks with Nigerians and economic experts to see how the economy might fare this year. Here is our report.
It's been a tough couple of years for Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation and largest economy. The country is reeling from 2 consecutive recessions, pandemic shocks, and growing debt profile. As the new year begins, the people are curious to see what this means for the economy.
The state of Nigeria today is nothing good to write home about.
These people are around now, there's no miracle they can do.
But I think 2022 will be better than 2021 because we've complained enough.
On Friday, December 31st, 2021, President Muhammadu Buhari signed a policy document into law, the 2022 budget intended to help grow and sustain the economy. He makes it clear that one way to do that is through investments in non-oil sectors like agriculture.
People have to be encouraged to go back to the land. And doing that is to get machinery, clear the lands, provide fertilizer and seedlings.
The 2022 budget is 17.13 trillion naira, as against last year's 14.6 trillion. The budget is based on the following projections and targets: an oil production figure of 1.88 million barrels per day, oil price benchmark of $62 per barrel, exchange rates of 410 naira 15 kobo to $1, inflation rate of 13%, and GDP growth of 4.20%. Defense and security take the lion's share of the 2022 budget with 2.29 trillion naira, which is 13.4% of the budget. 2 other key sectors for many Nigerians are education and health. Education gets 1.29 trillion, while health receives 724.6 billion naira. These figures represent 7.9% and 4.2% of the budget, respectively. What do financial experts think of these projections and allocations?
The allocations are driven not by the highest national priority, but it's by essentially an annual increase of what was done the previous year.
We shouldn't be doing less than 15% on education, at least if you want to use parameter recommended by UNESCO.
Another important sector is agriculture, a major policy thrust of the Buhari administration. But the sector gets 291.4 billion naira from the 2022 budget, which is just 1.8% of the fiscal document. Also, of the estimated total revenue of 10 trillion naira, oil and gas alone would account for over 3 trillion naira, or 30%. This indicates that the country will still be heavily reliant on oil to generate income. So what does this all mean for the country's diversification drive?
To put in less than 2% of the state resources on agriculture is not a good show of government commitment to diversifying the economy, particularly for a sector that has been making significant contribution to the GDP.
By the second quarter of 2022, the federal government plans to have deregulated the oil sector, removed subsidies, and channel the funds into other sectors. But the World Bank says Nigeria cannot afford to wait that long.
I see the need to remove a subsidy if there is any, because we are enriching a small percentage of the people, the people importing and giving the details of what they imported, getting subsidized for the fluctuation in exchange rates and all of that. They are getting rich. But if we now want to pull it back and pull it on the people, then we're going to have a bit of a problem.
The Nigeria Labour Congress has kicked against the move, vowing to down tools if implemented.
We're against the so-called deregulation or removal of subsidy anchored on the import pricing model, which we have said clearly and emphatically that is only Nigeria among the OPEC member countries that is 100% importing refined products for domestic use.
Nigeria's inflation rate is currently elevated at 15.40%, with food inflation and public debt also climbing. The budget has a deficit of about 6.25 trillion naira, which will be financed by additional borrowings. For 2022, experts say these numbers are not looking up.
The inflation target may not be achieved because the expected increase in production, particularly in food production, may not be achieved for what we have mentioned, security. And once the inflation is not achieved, then a lot of all the other parameters are not achieved.
The insecurity is going to be a problem, for this next year.
Drilling down further, 70% of the budget is expected to go into recurrent expenditure, while 30% would go into capital expenditure. Recurrent expenditure is basically used to pay the salaries and allowances of government workers, while capital expenditure is for development projects and infrastructure. So what does this mean for the economy in 2022?
The government will be very busy servicing and taking care of its bureaucracy than actually investing in the strategic needs of the country that can actually help in growing the economy.
What are we paying for? Human development or salaries? Unfortunately, the overhead shows that we'll be paying salaries instead of human development.
Towards the end of 2021, the naira experienced exchange rate depreciation to over 500 naira to the dollar. What might be the foreign exchange outlook for this year?
The projection is not looking good because the economic fundamentals that we have at the moment does not support a strong naira.
What are the reforms and perspectives that could change the game for Nigeria?
The fundamental change that government can really make is to accept that the existing privatization policies are not working, and to adopt the very successful Nigeria LNG model in reforming the ownership structure in all our major public enterprises.
We need to reduce the kind of tax and the corruption in the system and the harassment that happens on a daily basis, because multiple taxation that countries people are experiencing and all that, we need to harmonize them, and that can actually help in easing business. And once business is eased, production can increase and people can be employed.
The International Monetary Fund projects that in 2022, Nigeria's economy will grow by 2.7%. Now, this growth will be led by a recovery in non-oil sectors and higher oil prices. But the federal government promises that its policies will help the country surpass those projections. Aneta, Felix, Gist, Nigeria.
Hopefully, it will be a fruitful year indeed.